Currently, the Rockets are beating the Portland Trail Blazers by 4 points with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And this is the perfect time for this topic. The Rockets are currently on a 3-game winning streak. If they beat Portland, it would be a 4-game winning streak. And this begs the question, are they still good even without James Harden? And I'm going to say this. They are really good without James Harden. Pre-Harden trade, the Rockets' defense was ranked 21st. Their offense was ranked 21st. And their net rating was minus 4.4. Post-Harden trade, their defense is now ranked 3rd. Their offense is 25th in the league, and their net rating is +3. John Wall was quoted saying, getting the trades in, getting the people that want to be here, committing on both ends of the floor has been the difference. They're 4th in defensive rating this season, and I think everybody is bought in. By the way, Oladipo, Christian Wood, and John Wall against the Blazers tonight, that's the first game that all 3 of them have played. It's either been Oladipo has been in and Wall has been out, or Wall has been in and Oladipo has been
this team,
but like Christian Wood has not been playing these past couple of games, and now all 3 of them finally get to play. We know that Christian Wood is phenomenal, 23.5 points per game, 11 rebounds. Oladipo averaging 22 points for the Rockets so far. Eric Gordon averaging 18 and John Wall 18. And last year, some of the key players for the Rockets were Daniel House and Ben McLemore. Daniel House is delegated to a bench role now. Like, Daniel House comes off the bench. Last year he was a starter. And I think some of these guys have overtaken Daniel House. David Nwaba. Possessions that I saw Nwaba on Bradley Beal, he was locking him up.
No, he's a lock.
I told you about
Chicago.
David
Yeah, I never said he wasn't a good defender. He's just not a good shooter.
He's a super impactful player.
I think he's good to his role. I think he's good in his role. But when Harden was there, they were starting Nwaba, and they were injured all around. So I think David Nwaba has made a huge difference. Mason Jones, when he's been playing, Mason Jones has been probably the 2nd, 3rd best rookie in the NBA, and DeMarcus Cousins is finally starting to come along. He just had 2 breakout games. He's doing his thing in the absence of Christian Wood and Jayshawn Tate. He's a hustler. I told you about Jayshawn Tate.
I remember. It's crazy because I watched him at Ohio State, but I just, like, one day he just wasn't here anymore. I was just like, oh, wow, all right, he's gone.
And I think the Rockets are still a good team right now. They have an opportunity to make the playoffs even without James Harden, because Christian Wood has ascended to be an all-star this season. I think he's playing at an all-star level. John Wall has exceeded everybody's expectations with the way that he's came back from injury. Oladipo can give you 20 a night and elite defense. I mean, this is a team that has bought in. And I think Oladipo, maybe he doesn't get traded. Maybe he doesn't go anywhere. Maybe he likes Houston and he stays. And if Oladipo can be the Oladipo of old, then this team can make some moves and be good.
They're 7th in field goal percentage, opponent field goal percentage, 4th in defensive rating. I didn't expect this team to be that great defensively with the weapons they had. They got a lot of guys who've been hurt, but they have a lot of individual great defenders. I think the Harden thing was clouding over them. It wasn't that this team was just a bad team. It just Harden didn't want to be there anymore. You can see it. He didn't want to play there, and the team was banged up in a sense. Now, like Joel said, they're getting healthy. They're starting to gel as a team, and when you gel as a team, anything can happen. I think this team rides for each other. They're playing hard. And, they're not going to beat you with style or with fashion. They don't have a superstar, but they're going to play hard every single night. And I think this team is good enough to definitely fight for a playoff spot, because defense, if you can play D in this league, you're always going to fight. And I think this team is one of the best defensive teams in the West. So if you can play defense, you're going to be good. I think it's going to be tough, but you see good signs. You see John Wall getting back to semi-form. You see Oladipo, he's looking good. You got a star in Christian Wood. That's going to be good. Mason Jones, cheap guy. He's looking like one of the best rookies in the league, underrated guy. You told me about him, too, a while ago.
I like Mason Jones, but Mason Jones, right now, the 5 bench guys that Steven Silas has decided to play this game have been Gordon, Sterling Brown, Daniel House, Nwaba, and Cousins. So Mason Jones, Exum, Ben McLemore aren't even getting minutes. Kevin Porter Jr. just got traded there. We'll see what he does when he's, finally good. But Daniel, Sterling Brown, they have him playing because he could handle the ball. He could play the point guard role. But this team is just made up of a lot of guys who have had to prove their way into the league. And you mentioned Christian Wood as a star. I don't think Victor Oladipo is that far off. I mean, Victor Oladipo, his last couple of years in Indiana, has had the responsibility of being that guy. He didn't live up to expectations his last couple of years in Indiana, but he has had to be that guy for Indiana. So that's why I think he's fitting in seamlessly with the Rockets, because he's used to the expectations.
Yeah, and I think a lot of their success early in the season has to be equated to how hard they're playing. And one, you got to give credit to Steven Silas, a rookie head coach, coming in, rallying this group of, I don't want to say misfit toys, but that's kind of what it seems like. And that'll lead me to my next point. It's a bunch of guys with chips on their shoulders. John Wall was shipped off by the Wizards when he was committed to that organization. He thought that he was going to come back. It was going to be him and Bradley Beal. Victor Oladipo, same thing with the Pacers. They shipped him off for Karis LeVert. All of them felt disrespected by James Harden because he said that he didn't think he had a chance to win there. That situation was clouding over them, and almost in spite of everybody else, they're coming together and just playing hard, and it's resulted in great defense. And you have a pretty good cast of characters here. This is a good group of players. I like the depth. There's guys that aren't playing right now that I think are solid bench pieces. I don't think they're a great team. I think they're a good team, and I do think they could be a playoff team. I think that the Harden trade helped in a way because their play style can change now. It's not as dependent on James Harden being that isolation scorer and a drive and kick system where everybody needs to be a good shooter. It's a more free offense, and it doesn't rely on them shooting the ball well, which, like you said in a couple videos ago, was not a huge strength of theirs. So
I'll be honest, though, before you go, James Harden is not the reason they played like that.
No,
I'm just saying that.
Yeah, no.
I think it was all of them.
I think it was Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah, I agree.
Implemented that offense.
I agree. And I think that James Harden was done with the situation, and just getting on from that and starting new was the best thing that could have happened for the team. And maybe it's not the best thing that could have happened to the organization, because you never want to lose a player like that.
I think it was.
But
I think it was.
When you look at this roster, there is nothing better than getting the guy out of the locker room that doesn't want to be there. And they did that. They brought in guys who had chips on their shoulders. They got a rookie head coach who I think is doing a very nice job right now, getting his guys to play hard. And at the NBA level in the regular season, there are not many things that will impact your team and the win and loss column as much as playing hard. Obviously, you need talent, but on a night-to-night basis, if you could get your team to play hard for 82 games, that is a huge deal.
I think it was the right move for the Rockets to trade James Harden. I think it was the best thing for their organization. Listen, I've been a Harden fan since he got traded to Houston, which means I've been rooting for the Rockets ever since 2012. And I still hope that they succeed, because I still have ties to the Rockets because I loved James Harden for so much when he was there. 2018 was their year to win the championship. They didn't win that year. And when they didn't bring back Trevor Ariza, and we didn't have a small forward, basically, we knew we weren't going to beat Golden State, whose best player was a small forward. We knew we had a chance still, but we're probably going to lose. Then after 2019, when it all blew up, everybody was hoping Westbrook and Harden would win a championship. I was hoping, but Westbrook's lack of shooting really cost him in the playoffs, and it showed against the Lakers, and we almost lost to the Thunder because of it. And then this season, you just see Daryl Morey leaving, Mike D'Antoni leaving. Let's be honest, even with Harden, this team was not going to win the championship. And because of that, the best thing for the organization to do was start over. And they're starting over with a good team. They're not starting over like being the Minnesota Timberwolves. No, they're starting over with a good team, and they're competitive, and that's all you can ask for. And that's all you can hope for if you're Steven Silas, because you don't want to come to a new team and have two disgruntled stars, and now your coaching is more predicated on what the stars want. Steven Silas is fitting this team into the image of what he wants. And his calling card out of the Mavericks was offense because of how great they were in terms of offensive rating. But what the Rockets have been good at so far is defense. I think the best thing for the organization was to move on from James Harden. And you can see it that they thought it too because they traded Harden to where he wanted to go. Yeah. There was no bad blood between them in their rift. There was bad blood between Harden and John Wall and Boogie and some of the teammates. But in terms of the front office, I mean, they collaborated throughout the whole time.
At this point, I totally agree with you. And where it got, I agree the best move was to move on from him. But I was just saying in a general sense, it's never good for an organization to lose a player of that caliber. And like backtracking, I'm sure there's some things that you would change to keep Harden and keep Daryl Morey and maybe or maybe not keep Mike D'Antoni. But to the point that it had gotten, there was no saving James Harden being there. He was mentally checked out from, I would think, the playoffs last year. Once things went wrong with Westbrook, there was really no saving that situation.
I mean, the reason I disagree with you in this case is because the Rockets have tried for years to win the championship with James Harden, and you know, it didn't happen because James Harden's best team was during the time the Warriors were juggernauts. And the reality of the situation is that in trying to provide Harden these teammates, Houston Rockets, they mortgaged their future and traded away all their first-round picks. In trading James Harden, they got all of those assets back, plus an all-star caliber player in Oladipo. That's why I think it was the best situation for them to move on. It was just time. It was just time.
The only thing I wish is that we could go back in the past and keep Chris Paul instead of trading for Russell Westbrook. I feel like that trade was what really started to take the wheels off the bus, for lack of a better word. Because, I mean, I thought that they were close with that team with Chris Paul.
I think losing in 2019 was the last straw.
Yeah.
I think 2018, losing Trevor Ariza was what created the domino effect. I think he was huge. And then cutting Carmelo very early in the season, that all was a domino effect. And then it just went downhill from there. Yeah. But that's why I don't think there's no bad blood between Rockets fans and James Harden. I mean, I could tell you from when I follow a lot of Rockets pages, I could tell you we all want James Harden to win the championship. Like, there's no bad blood there. There's more bad blood between John Wall and Boogie because, I mean, if you go to a new team, you don't want to have a teammate. Yeah, you don't want to have a team that's basically saying you're not good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
To win.
Exactly. But it's great for a rebuild when you have two guys like, even though Westbrook's contract was horrible, he still got a good return in John Wall. And James Harden obviously brought in all those picks, brought in LeVert, who turned into Oladipo. So it obviously helped that rebuild a lot and kept you competitive now, because bringing in Oladipo and John Wall the way they've played coming off the injury, I mean, they don't look like – I think Oladipo looks closer to what his old self was. John Wall doesn't look like his old self quite yet, but he still looks like a top point guard in the NBA. So, I mean, you're talking about a pretty solid lineup here, and I think they could at least be like a play-in team.
I mean, the difference between Harden and Westbrook, Harden wanted to get traded to win. Westbrook wanted to get traded to inflate his stats and go to Washington.
I don't even think it was a market for him out there.
I mean, there definitely wasn't, but you could even, like, he literally said himself he wanted to run a show again. And I think his career's slowly gonna end really badly because
his main thing was his athleticism.
He shouldn't be a high usage player anymore. He's not that good anymore. So, I mean, in terms to be like that superstar guy,
I don't think he wants to win.
And right now, currently, the Rockets are beating the Blazers 101-98 with 20 seconds left. So we'll see if they win 4 in a row. But we all can agree that the Rockets, even without James Harden, are still a pretty damn good team.